And Lexi, you holding on? All right, so big brakes. So tire limited, wow. Amazing ABS calibration. Hello and welcome back to the Kyle Connor YouTube channel video. Well, this video is on the Nissan Frontier, brand new, big news. First time in, I want to say, almost 17, 18 years, right? This is the first full redesign of the Frontier in longer than some people have been driving. That's insane. But finally, we have a brand new Frontier 2022. This one is a pre-production prototype, and this video is going to go live on the day that I can share some extra information with you, such as pricing, base price for the Pro-4X, which is this one, all the off-roady stuff, Bilstein stocks, underbody skid plates, etc. $37,240. This one has the tech, convenience, and premium pack maxed out, as expensive as you can get it. It's $44,315. You're probably wondering, how does that compare to the Toyota Tacoma? Good news, I've done research for you. This sits price-wise right in between a TRD off-road Tacoma and a TRD Pro, and its capabilities are about in the middle. I actually took this vehicle off-roading. As mentioned, this isn't going to be a full review. If you're looking for it, head to our out-of-spec reviews YouTube channel where we've done a full in-depth thorough review. This is my personal YouTube channel where I just get to share my own thoughts and ideas. Look at that nice dampened tailgate, spray-in bed liner. You can see mud from the off-road, 110 volt outlet, all part of these options. Nice rails. I did an IKEA run with this. It was awesome. Really easy to close the tailgate. The color, the spec is the jam. This is called Tactical Green Metallic, very similar to Army Green on the Tacoma. I think that this one, with its hand-cooked Dynapro AT2 tires, is the perfect blend of on-road styling and driving dynamics with off-road credibility. It's getting windy. Let's jump inside. Lexi is inside here. She does out-of-spec stuff with us, so not associated with this channel, sort of. Start button over here. Fires into life. Now, this is the 3.8 liter V6, 310 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque, is it? Let's get the numbers for you correctly. It is 281 pound-feet of torque. Sorry, off by one right there. Interestingly, though, that's at sea level. Up here at least starting at around 5,500 feet of elevation, going up to, we'll probably hit about 7,500 in this video. Well, yeah, not going to be that much. So we have a 9-speed torque converter automatic transmission, no CVT. And as we do with every video, let's start with a little launch. So traction control off. I want it off for the road anyway. Lexi, you holding on?
Yep. Okay.
Nice launch on this sort of half pavement, half dirt surface. Rips pretty hard up at the top revs, and then full brakes. Really nice ABS calibration. Really like that. Interestingly, the brake pedal's electrically boosted. You actually hear it work in the background every time you touch it. It's kind of nice. And very strong brake pedal calibration. Really good pedal feel. It's actually one of the highlights of this vehicle. So you guys know in these videos I like to drive cars on a good back road. This is not a performance vehicle. I know I don't have to explain that to you, but I do have to explain why am I driving a non-performance vehicle on a good canyon road. Well, it just makes for interesting viewing content. Plus, look at how gorgeous the mountains are around us. And so what I've done now is I've shifted the transmission over into manual shifting mode. You can see it just holds the revs up. Better than Toyota, actually, this is a manual gear selection, not a suggestion. It's not a gear limiter, it's actually a gear selection. So in Tacoma, you get like S3 and S4, and you're saying, hey, could I maybe not go higher than 4th gear or higher than 5th gear? And it kind of shifts normally, and then when it hits that gear that you've selected, it won't upshift past. Here is a manual gear selection, which means I say go into 3rd, it goes into 3rd, and guess what? It holds at the rev limiter in the gear you selected. Big news for Nissan here, and a big win over Tacoma in a big way. So let's talk about Frontier in the past. Been around forever. It's been, I would say, one of the best value mid-size trucks, as in they were just so cheap to buy and they would approve anyone with any credit because they just had to move them. Well, now they have a really desirable truck, styling wise, but also driving. So I know we're not on the highway now, but you'll have to just trust me when I tell you. I took this on a 110-mile round trip yesterday down to IKEA and back. Look at that, even getting it a little sideways coming around the corners. Really nice. And we'll actually push it a little bit harder here in a bit. But let me tell you how well this drives on the highway. First off, quiet, comfortable, and that ninth gear, that final drive ratio is so tall that at 85 miles an hour, this thing sits at about 2,000 RPM, which is amazing. Revving out second gear. 7,000 RPM is fuel cutoff. Very nice. Coming in under braking. Look at that. Very little weight transfer as well. And I don't know, Lexi, how are you feeling on the mountain roads?
Pretty good.
Good. And, you know, really awesome overall calibration of drivetrain, I think. Would this engine benefit from a supercharger? The answer is no question. 100% could use forced induction, especially up here at altitude. I want you guys to go to motor1.com and read my colleague Clint Simone's written article, and let's see what he thinks of the acceleration down at sea level. He's in Miami. I haven't asked him, but I know he'll comment on it. Great auto journalist. So read that written review at motor1.com. Overall, transmission could use a little bit of sharpening. I think it's a little slushy, but it gets the job done. This is the same transmission, I believe, that's in the Nissan Titan V8, because it's a longitudinally mounted transmission. The Pathfinder that you and I both drove a few weeks ago, actually, we had another early access opportunity with that vehicle, also had a 9-speed transmission, except it was mounted transversely, and I believe it's a completely different gearbox altogether. This thing just revs and revs and revs, and it makes most of its power up top. I don't have all the info on this car. It's still pre-production. It's still a prototype, so we'll definitely revisit this. Look at that guy driving right in our lane. Nice line. And I meant that sarcastically, of course. So, you know, the little stuff here will get moved around. Let's talk mid-size trucks. We've recently driven the Ford Ranger together. We have driven now this, and we have driven Tacoma and the Colorado, but I didn't film that. I would buy this one over all of those. I mean that seriously. Well, maybe a ZR2 with the Baby Max diesel. That's kind of cool in the Colorado. But this, to me, is the most easy to live with everyday truck. It has hydraulic cab mounts that reduce vibrations by 80% over the previous generation Frontier. Now, how relevant is it to compare this one to the previous gen? Anything is going to be better, of course. But overall, the cowl shake, the actual chassis vibrations over bumps, over undulations, over expansion joints is incredibly smooth for a truck. You still do get a sense that things are kind of wiggling around, but very, like a normal driver wouldn't pick up on it. Prius is going 2 miles an hour in typical eco-friendly tree-hugging fashion here. So let's see if we can get him out of the way. Headlights on, just to assert our dominance in the Nissan Frontier. You know, so braking, I mentioned, great. Acceleration, fine, but you really need to wring it out all the way. Would love to see forced induction. Steering, weak point. Very slow steering rack here, and that's of course the nature of most trucks. It would benefit from a variable ratio steering rack, but Nissan won't do that. They don't do that in any of their cars, except maybe some of the Infiniti stuff, but that wouldn't make it here. And I would say that's really the weak point. When you're in tight parking spaces, the turning radius isn't great. Trying to shove this into a parking spot's pretty hard. So overall, not so keen on the steering. On the size of the truck, the comfort, everything's great. Backseat room, Lexi, you sat back there yesterday. How was it?
Oh, it was a little tight. Definitely a little tight with the headrest, leaning forward, like you had mentioned before.
Right, so the angle of that backrest, you sit a little bit too far forwards.
Yeah.
But the leather quality is nice in this Pro-4X.
Oh, the seats are nice. Yeah. Overall, it rides nice in the backseat.
Okay, rides fine in the backseat, but you wouldn't want to go on a long road trip back there.
Yeah, I would say that.
Understood. Yeah, so I think that's fine. It's mostly a 2-person truck plus maybe some car seats or whatever in the back. Overall, I've lived with this truck now for about 500 miles, and it hasn't annoyed me at all, which is so hard for a car to do. I took this off-roading using 4 high and 4 low, using the rear diff locker, which is an option on the Pro-4X, or I should say comes with Pro-4X, very much needed, by the way, and then hill descent control even, used all the stuff. and that's in the out of spec reviews video that I mentioned. And this thing climbed its way up some serious obstacles. I mean, some of it didn't make it up. I picked arguably too hard of a trail for the truck, but the skid plates were great. The traction, given the Dynapro AT2 tires, was more than I had expected. These tires have impressed me. I didn't even air down for the trail. I thought it felt rugged, felt good. While we're stuck behind the Prius, we have adaptive cruise control, we have lane departure warning, but not any assistance. So if you touch a line, either left or right side, the mustard or the mayo, you will not get the vehicle pushing you back in the lane. It will just sort of beep at you and say, hey, you're about to go off the road, but not do anything to help you, which I think is a real shame. We're a couple corners up here, about to hit a passing zone. We'll deploy full acceleration. Oh, we won't even need to. Look at this. Lovely. Thank you so much for living here. I thought they were just being nice and letting us pass. Anyway, full acceleration, ringing it out. This is in automatic programming now. And we'll do a full brake test in the spot. We always do the full brake tests. So we'll come screaming up here. And Lexi, you holding on? All right, so big brakes. So tire limited, wow. Amazing ABS calibration. Look at that, we left some 11s back there. That means we were getting really good tire deceleration compared to road speed. The quickest way to stop a vehicle is 15% roughly slower wheel speed than vehicle traveling speed. And I thought that this thing did a great job of managing control and getting the pedal to the ground. Better than some sports cars, actually. Not in terms of stopping distance, but in terms of stopping prowess, if you will. So coming up to some good sections, shifting into manual mode to just hold the revs up a little bit higher. We can manually upshift, but it won't do that until we request, or I should say come off the throttle. Best section of the road right through here. Let's test the weight transfer, throwing it in. A little bit of tire squeal, nothing to worry about. Really nice. You know, it's not a sports car, but could you take your mountain bikes in the back of this thing, run it to the top of the hill, and then, you know, go shred down and have your buddy drive your truck down or something? Sure. I mean, you can get around quickly in this thing, no question whatsoever. I'd love to be able to take you off-roading. Again, we've already shot that in another video. In terms of MPG, I believe it's rated 17 in the city. I could be wrong, but I think I recall that's what it was. Don't remember what it is on the highway. It's got to be low to mid-20s. It is pretty thirsty, and I think that's an area of improvement that Nissan could really work on overall, just improving the fuel economy of their trucks, because their cars actually outperform almost anything in our 70 mile per hour highway MPG standardized loop that I run every car in. So the Nissan Sentra SR, the Nissan Kicks, these do really well in our testing. Look at this old square body Ford. This thing is nice. Sick. 350 with the 7.3 power stroke. That's a vehicle. Hopefully manual, long bed, crew cab. Love that. Screaming up the hill here. This is where we need forced induction. We'll hold it in third. A little bit of a lift. Love the brake pedal. I took this down a canyon the other day and thought that the brake pedal calibration was great even when the brakes were hot. So not only is it good when the brakes are cold, it's good as the brakes heat up. Nice Jeep with the light bar right there. Throwing it into a corner, of course. You notice there's not much hoppiness. Here's a bump. Yep, and it handled it really nicely. You can tell it soaked it up, but we actually didn't transition over, which I thought was great. Coming up to my favorite section of the road through here, or I should say my second most favorite section. We're gonna come, make sure no one's up on top of the hill. We'll leave it in third. We'll ride that nice meaty torque curve over the hill here, applying full acceleration, and down the hill we go. Woohoo! Into fourth gear. Look at this thing shredding around. I love that when you turn traction control off, it truly means off. A lot of high riding vehicles, like, I'm trying to think if the Armada was truly off when we had it, but I believe other Nissan products, when you turn it off, they still give you this sort of rollover protection. It could be that this is a prototype vehicle, so we don't know for sure, but for the most part, it's just letting us shred around. And the noise of this 3.8 isn't amazing. It's not the sweetest sounding engine on the planet, but it's effective and it's unoffensive. As it revs, it is a okay sound, but it doesn't encourage you to drive with a heavy right foot. Sometimes you have to watch for horses up here. Are there any? Negative. Full power. Up here, now we're at the top of the hill. We're almost, look, we're barely gaining any speed. That's wide open. And that's just the effects of altitude happening on a naturally aspirated engine, which is common. That is not unique to this vehicle. Let's take a look as to that open differential, see if it can put any kind of power down coming out of this corner. Yes, not even enough to spin the inside tire. Wide open throttle up the steepest section here. We'll leave it in second. Fuel cutoff on the brakes. That's the reason you don't force upshifts. Nissan, thank you very much. Other automakers, take note. You want it to stay in the gear you have selected. A little bit of braking coming on into the tight section. Wow, for a truck, you would have no idea you're driving a pickup truck. And it can just confidently climb up this hill. That is impressive. We have some motorcyclists, some cyclists, probably very angry at our speed. And now we've reached the top. Temperature gauge in the cold. Let's take a look at our other temperatures. Transmission temp cold, oil pressure good, oil temperature just to the right of normal. That's impressive. And that's another benefit of having natural aspiration. If you were to have forced induction, potentially your reliability would go down because your oil temps would skyrocket. It would stress the rest of the drivetrain, down line of the engine. Transmission gets hot. Everything gets stressed when you have boost at 1500 RPM. Great for the first 4 years of ownership, but then if you really want a truck to last, with Frontiers are really proving the test of time now, maybe this is the best approach. Reliability over true driving dynamics. Here we are, engine braking, 5,000 RPM. Is it strong enough? No, we're still creeping up on speed, so it doesn't, holding okay. Coming through my favorite section on the downhill, a little bit of a hop through here. Look at that, so nice. And overall, that is the driving review of the Nissan Frontier. Way more performance than you would need in a truck, by far. By far, you wouldn't need this much performance. And extremely comfortable. I mean, if you put someone 20 years ago in a truck and said it's going to drive like a current generation E-Class 20 years ago, that's what this is. It is so smooth, so serene, so well damped. And by the way, the Fender audio system's pretty good as well. Overall, thumbs up from me. Truly impressed. Wasn't expecting much when this car got dropped off, and I'm blown away. Lexi, what do you think? Are you as enthused?
Yeah, honestly, it did awesome.
Yeah,
I
it
wouldn't
did
have
awesome.
expected it.
Yeah, who would know?
Yeah.
So now the question is, Nissan Frontier or Toyota Tacoma? That's a video we will have to do. Here's that turning radius, by the way. Not the best. But we still made it. Thanks for watching another Kyle Connor YouTube channel video. Catch you on the next one.